in South Africa, and of course with the plight of refugees around the world. He was the chair of the Refugee Committee in the Senate, which is what brought him to India in the early 1970s. And he sponsored over 130 refugee-related bills, always trying to use his influence, any media attention that he could get, because he believed in humanitarianism and justice for all. Now, his interest, as you heard here in Bangladesh, began when he visited the refugee camps in India, witnessing millions of people who fled this nation. You know the story of your nation. He stood in the muddy bank of the Kapathali River, watching boat after boat filled with refugees, and he burst into tears when he saw the young mothers in that camp holding their dead babies, and he heard firsthand how the West Pakistani Army had burned down houses throughout villages all over Bangladesh for no reason at all. And he learned about how the students here at Dhaka University were besieged by the Pakistani army that invaded this campus and firing into halls, killing students, killing teachers, killing many people in front of their families and friends, and especially how Hindu neighborhoods were especially targeted for bombing. So he told us many of these stories while we were growing up, which is one of the reasons why we've always heard in the Kennedy family about the great nation of Bangladesh and why it's such an honor for us to finally be here to meet so many incredible people. When he returned to Washington after his trip to India to look at and investigate the refugee camps there, he held important hearings in Washington to try to call attention to what has been going on. And he called Pakistani conduct a, quote, reign of terror. He pleaded with the world to take notice of the Pakistani brutality and the need to help the war's refugees and assist the freedom fighters. The refugee crisis and other atrocities that were committed by the Pakistani army. My father was one of the very few political leaders to stand up and call the conduct of the Pakistani army a genocide and jolting the international community to taking note with what was happening here in your country, in the hope that he could enlist other Americans, other members of Congress, and other people around the world to better understand what was happening and why the world should support the struggle for independence. You know, my father spent his entire life in his political career. He served in the United States Senate for almost 50 years, one of the longest serving members of the United States Senate. And his entire career was dedicated to fighting for the lives of the poorest and most disadvantaged people in our society in the United States and around the world.